And not to make everything about tuberculosis, but I think we see this a lot in the history of tuberculosis, where like people die of TB, but we really want them to have died of something else, because it's not a good story if they just died because they got a bacterial infection. Like, we want them to have been poisoned, or we want them to have been stabbed. We want there to be some kind of human agency in these stories of history. But a lot of times, like, the main character of history is a microbe.
I'm Carley.
I'm Blair.
And this is the comedy podcast where we talk about history and our girls.
And our girls.
Our energy is crazy today.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Woof,
we
woof.
have woof, 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 woof,
Woof, woof, woof, hiss.
woof, 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 hiss, meow.
Meow. And say it and purr. As you can see, we have the guest of the century on.
Guest of the
today.
century.
You can't believe it.
When I say I would say very few people defined my teenage years.
Yeah.
And
we were very different teenagers. You were very kind of like alt, a bit pretentious in a good way teenager.
I was still a nerd.
Yeah, I guess. And that's true. And I can't believe this. I don't want to like define somebody by their work that they did in 2014, because the work that they're doing right now is absolutely so fucking phenomenal. But we just said that like us recording today with author, tuberculosis activist, YouTuber, John Green, podcaster. That was the greatest exercise that both of us have ever had in being normal. And there were still moments where I just kind of like started a sentence and like freestyled it.
No, that's awesome. Hey.
Nice to meet you.
What's going on? Nice to meet you.
This is our freak podcast for freaks.
This is our free podcast for freaks. But yeah, it's surely like, I remember going to the bookstore and buying Looking for Alaska. And
you would be. We talked about before, you like Will Grayson the best, but you are also very looking for Alaska coded.
Well, I was like the first one of my friends to read a John Green book, which is my other claim to fame.
That is famous.
It is famous. I am famous. My choices are famous, more than me. And one of them was picking up a John Green book. And I did read that. And that was great. Like it really was like, oh my God. And I've read there's very few authors I've read every single book.
Yeah, me too.
And John Green is one of them.
Me too. And you famously, you have a signed copy of the Anthropocene Review that you can't get back.
I can't. So my friend Mara still has my Anthropocene reviewed, and I'm very upset about it.
Mara.
So Mara, please give it back. I'm asking you on the podcast to please give my signed John Green back. Please. Yeah. Please. I need it back.
Yes. But that's what we're talking today. His new book, Everything is Tuberculosis, is out on March 18th. We were lucky enough to get an advanced reader copy. And, oh, bitch. Honestly, like we say it on the interview with him, and I never know if people are like me and that like receiving a compliment is like a dagger in the middle of the forehead, like because you're just so uncomfortable. But like we said it was the book of the year, and like it is. Like it is floored by how fucking phenomenal this book is. And I shouldn't be surprised because he's like known to be a good writer, but it's timely. It's just about humans. Like really, like the history of disease is about the history of humanity. It's fucking fantastic. You should read it. Yeah. And I will say, when I posted that I finished it on my Instagram story, people were like, where the fuck did you get this?
Where the fuck did you get this book?
Did you get this? I need it.
Did you find that book? No, truly, like I've told people that I've read it and they're like, that's insane. How the fuck did you read it? And I'm like, I know. Like it truly is like, it's a fabulous scope of just like humanity, and like post-COVID, I think that disease is so prominent for so many people who have been privileged enough to live without the imminent threat of disease every day of their life. Yeah. And also just kind of in this era where like everything feels really hopeless. It's like, well, you only like that's been a privilege that you haven't had to feel like these threats.
This is a reality
really
for many,
it's a reality.
People. And it's not untreatable. Like we live in a world with tuberculosis as a choice. The modern, as a choice we've made. But we can also choose to stop it. It's phenomenal. Yeah. You can go to, I believe it's TB Fighters if you want to join
We'll
him in
link
his
it in the
fight.
description.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And also just like a fucking iconic turn to be like, I'm gonna slay the young adult market for many years, and now I think I'm going to dedicate my life to stopping medical inequality and fighting tuberculosis worldwide. Like, that's iconic. A king.
Yeah.
An unproblematic king.
A king among men, truly.
Couldn't be done. Many wish that they could, but they can't.
Many
So we're
wish
talking
they could, they
today
couldn't.
about the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and how it relates to tuberculosis and everything. This was iconic. I feel like we really haven't had, like, to have a real guest. We're in our finest collared shirts.
We really are. And we didn't
Faces
even plan
beat.
that.
I know.
Faces
But
beat. I feel crazy. Can't believe this happened.
Let's
and thank
just
you,
go
honestly,
into it.
listeners. Thank you for helping make it happen.
all right.
Let's
Here's the interview with John Green.
I hope you enjoy. Ahoy!
Nice job. I couldn't get in.
No, that's
Thank you.
fine. We didn't get
No,
in.
that's good. Welcome to Girl Historians, John.
Oh, it's so great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're absolutely jazzed. We both wore our finest collared shirts for the occasion.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Don't think that goes unnoticed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
know.
Yeah, we need buttons when we're about
Serious.
to discuss
Hard-hitting
serious-
journalism.
Serious hard-hitting journalism.
Yes.
We both read your book. It's fantastic.
yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for
It
reading
was
it.
fantastic. I also gave it to, and then I gave it to my boyfriend, and he read the entire thing in like 3 days. And now this is just a tuberculosis knowledge house. It's so good.
Thank
Yes.
you.
It
Thanks so
really is
much.
fabulous. Are you like, what was the process like writing it? Like, it seems like it took so many years.
It did. It started out as a much longer book and then became a shorter book as I realized I wanted to try to make it tight and fun to read. The biggest challenge with writing nonfiction for me is Horace said that poetry should delight and instruct, right? And it's easy to instruct. It's hard to delight, especially when you're talking about tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I really wanted to make something that was, like all of my books, it's emotional, but I also wanted it to be a fun read. I wanted it to be something where you learn a lot along the way.
Yeah.
And not unlike this podcast, where
Yes.
you talk about the serious matters of history, but through a fun-ish lens.
Yes. Funnish, I think, is the key word here.
Yeah.
It's a great
But
word.
it is. It was so easy to read, and you learn so much. I had seen your videos like about Henry before, so I knew how it ended. But even towards the end, I was reading it in between doing like work. I was like on the subway reading it, and then I just started to the end of it was so beautiful. Like I started to cry on the subway, which is very powerful
thank
to cry
you.
on the subway.
Yeah.
But you have such a skill for like, you see this in all of your books, but like trying to get into words like kind of the scope of humanity and like I felt it was ultimately really positive. Like I liked that it felt. Sometimes things, especially when we talk about disease, are so depressing because it is depressing that we've created this world for ourselves. Like you say, like we could live in a world without tuberculosis, but
Right.
we've chosen to. But it didn't feel like overtly like it didn't feel hopeless. It felt hopeful. Like we can.
Yeah. Well, I feel that way about the world. Like the world is very discouraging, especially right now.
Yes.
But hope is still the correct response to consciousness. Like I still think that being hopeful is the right way to be. I just think it's more productive. I think it's and I think it's justified. The year I graduated from high school, this is something I always say to people when young people tell me that they feel despair, and I don't blame them. If I was a young person, I would also feel despair. But I always say to young people, the year I graduated from high school, 1995, 12 million children under the age of 5 died, and last year fewer than 5 million did. That's the
Wow.
greatest achievement in human history.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen like naturally. It wasn't inevitable. It happened because millions and millions of people were working together to make it happen. And so I find hope in places like that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
totally.
And it really is what keeps you going. Like I think everyone's surrounded by a lot of people who are very kind of like, it's the same kind of like doomer mindset of like
Yeah.
nothing's worth doing anymore.
Right.
And it's so easy to fall into that. But like the only reason to really keep doing anything is like believing that it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, nothing's really matters at all.
No, I mean, in the long run, nothing matters, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Which
We're-
means
we're-
everything matters, right? Like,
which means everything matters. Which means,
Yeah.
which to me makes it matter more because we're here with each other. We are in the not yet, and as long as we're
Yeah.
in the not yet, we have to work together to try to make things better and easier for each other.
Totally. Yeah, it's so crazy whenever I feel overwhelmed. I'm always just like, I'm here because like a fish walked.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah,
and now I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm here because a fish walked, and now it's like hard for me to get out of bed because I feel discouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that fish did so much work for me, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not living up to its promise, but I'm doing my best. We're all doing our best.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, really.
And today we get to discuss arguably my favorite assassination of all time.
Wow. Okay.
I'm right with you. I love
Really?
that assassination.
Just narratively, it's so compelling, but
Yes.
at the same time, so bungling. Like everybody involved is such a bungler. And
yes.
obviously the catastrophe that unfolded from it is unspeakable and like one of the worst things we ever did as a species. But
And yes.
and two people died. More than two people died, arguably, but at least two people died.
You can argue that.
Minimum
Yeah.
2 people died probably.
In World War One. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people died, but two people died that day. And it's very sad and everything. But also it's completely fascinating to me that I mean, probably y'all are the experts, but probably we would have had some kind of global conflagration regardless, like
Yes.
all
Oh,
the
yeah,
other
definitely.
reasons why the pot was about to boil or whatever. But the fact that it was this particular incident that led to this earth-shattering, unbelievably violent, tragic war is just, it's unbelievable to me. Like, I can't
Yes.
believe that we
Yeah.
didn't find a way to get out of war after this particular incident.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like people could have just across the board decided not to. And
Yeah.
it's just
It's like,
dominoes,
clearly
dominoes,
this was
dominoes.
a weird thing.
It was a weird
absolutely.
choice. It was a
I'm
weird
sure
choice.
I'm sure you know this, but in Canada we get like Canada really kind of like came as a nation to World War One.
Yeah.
So we study it a lot more than I think like Americans I've met who don't know a ton about it.
Sure.
And it is the most mind-boggling war from start to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it really kind of like it fits in kind of like narratively that like yeah, of course this kind of like fumbled assassination would be out
Yeah.
of like all the attacks that could have come in, the thing that set things off.
Right.
Like how
Yeah.
bizarre.
It is
Yeah.
so fun. I love when we on this podcast get a little kind of tidbit of history that really reminds you that like everybody in the past was a human just like you.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
it's so easy to draw like to make this event so dramatic but you're like no, it's just like if you had teenagers do an assassination now, it would be the same thing. Like we're
Yeah.
all so dumb, which is kind of why it's so beautiful. Like we're
Yeah.
all on the same page.
Yeah. Three kind of like, bumbling teenagers who were dying, who didn't know what they were going to do with their lives. And like a lot of us want meaning in their lives and knew that their lives were going to be short. Go and do this thing. And like, I mean, it works on a scale that they could never have imagined.
Yeah.
Yeah. It narratively, I don't think you can argue with this assassination. In terms of impact,
Yeah.
like JFK assassination, I feel like obviously
deal.
very big deal. Big
Very
deal.
sad.
Big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Very,
Very sad.
very sad. Let's say we're against that on the
Yeah.
Real Historians podcast.
Yes.
But like the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, historically, the implications are just so much more. They're massive. They're
Yeah.
huge. Should
Yeah.
let's talk about it. Let's go
talk
through
about it.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
dive in. Take us away, Carly.
Okay, and Blair, hit me with that pronunciation. Sarajevo?
Sarajevo?
Yevo? Okay.
Now you guys have got me questioning myself.
Sarajevo.
Sarajevo?
That sounds right to me.
Sarajevo?
Great. Okay, so on June 28th, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie, they tour Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina at the time, and very reluctant member in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So that's kind of where all of this comes from.
Yep.
World War I is basically the entire world goes to war over border dispute, land dispute in this empire. And people are not happy about it. They don't want to be a part of it.
Real.
I also want to say, when I was researching this, when you look up what Sarajevo is famous for, it says it's large marketplaces and numerous mosques. And I would argue it might be most well known for the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. But I think that they might be trying to
I always think of the markets, though. That's where I go.
And the numerous
markets,
mosques, and huge
markets.
Yes. So people really wanted, in the Balkan territories, independence, and among those who wanted sovereignty were the 3 teenagers who had tuberculosis, who become a part of the assassination attempt against Franz Ferdinand.
Yeah.
So let's hit their names if you want. You can also, what were you going to say, John? And before I
what I was going to say is that it's important to know, like, almost everyone had tuberculosis of some kind back then. In 1918, not everyone, but like at least like over half of people were had experienced a tuberculosis infection. But they were all sick. Like they all knew that they were sick. And once you were sick with TB, like some people, and we still don't know why this is, but some people recover from a tuberculosis, from active tuberculosis disease. We don't know why some people do, but some people do, but only about 25%. So they knew by the time that they did this assassination, they knew that their lives were going to be short.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's, when you say like half of people had tuberculosis, is that like an active infection, or
no? That includes latent tuberculosis.
Okay.
So right now, about a quarter of all people have experienced a TB infection, but the vast majority of them will never get sick with TB. Their immune systems will kind of hold the infection in check for a lifetime, and about 10 million people will get sick this year. But back then, TB was an even bigger problem, and so hundreds of millions of people were getting sick every year.
Wow.
It is really, really wild. I mean, I think it's appropriately named Everything is Tuberculosis, because now when you listen to it, it's especially in history. Like I was reading about Ralph Waldo Emerson, and then it was just like, oh, his wife died of tuberculosis. Like it's truly like everywhere in history and in modern day as well. When you like listen to it, for it, you hear it so much.
Right.
Which
it's
is
also
wild.
crazy that like people were very aware of it being such a huge thing, like about like the amount of people that had it. Like I can't imagine the gravity of being a teenager and being like, I'm going to die, so I might as well do this.
Yeah. Somebody referred to it as the frightful tuberculization of humanity. This feeling that like everyone was getting tuberculosis. Like it was by the 18th century, it was causing about a third of all deaths in England and the United States. So I mean, it was not uncommon that you would be 19 and sick with this disease. It was a little uncommon that you would be 19 and sick with this disease and decide with your 3 buddies that you were going to assassinate an archduke.
Yeah, it's better to burn out than fade away, I guess, in many ways.
Yeah. Here we are talking about them.
Yes,
Seriously.
obviously the impact can't be argued. So these 3 teenagers are Nedeljko Kabrinovic, Trilfko Grabez, maybe I'm pronouncing it too French, and Gravilo Princip. So they're all from Belgrade. Oh my God, Belgrade. Thank you. And as you said, John, they were seriously ill with tuberculosis, and they were a member of the Black Hand, which is like an underground sovereignty movement.
Doesn't it sound like an underground sovereignty movement? Like, is there more of a than the Black Hand? Like, they called themselves the Black Hand.
Yeah. It sounds
That
like
rocks.
a fake one, like made up for Riverdale, and you're like, okay, that's a little on the nose.
It's a little on the nose.
You could have reworked it a bit.
Underground sovereignty group name generator ass name.
AI, yeah. Let's get ChatGPT, figure it out. We don't need to really work on it too much. So they travel to Sarajevo and meet up with 3 other co-conspirators that before the attempt all drop out for different reasons, whether it be cold feet, can't make it, whatever. But because they know that they want to do something with their lives, they're ready to go. They each have a gun, some bombs, and a cyanide capsule to commit suicide with. Now put a pin in that. We'll come back to that in a bit.
Because the whole idea here is that they're going to do this. They're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
And so they're going to do this, and then they're going to take the cyanide capsule, and then they're going to die, and they will have achieved something great for the cause and undermine the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Totally.
And they don't have to go to then like the big conspiracy and the Black Hand and everything won't have to be revealed because they'll be gone.
Right. Okay.
Smart.
Yeah. So it's also like a protecting of the secrets of this organization.
Yeah.
As much as it also is like we get to die on our own terms and we get to really do something.
Yeah.
Okay. So Franz Ferdinand doing one of those royal parade, politician parade things.
And
where,
bring those
you
back.
Yeah, we need to have more people I wish a politician would come by my house in an open air car.
Open top car just waving.
Just, hey.
You know, I would love to see more
You know
of
what
that.
would top that even? I would love if the Pope Mobile came around more.
Oh my God.
I feel
would-
like
Yeah.
he's never
I think
coming
he might
back.
not, that might not be
I know,
happening for a bit.
Yes.
Or maybe
It's
not.
upsetting.
It's upsetting.
Yes.
But yes, so it's obviously something I feel like I don't have a concept for in the modern time. But he was just going around being like, yeah, hi guys, so happy to see you.
What's up?
Yes. So Kabrinovic sees this open top car on the parade route just after 10 a.m., takes his chance, throws a bomb at the car, misses it, bounces off the back of the car underneath the car behind them, explodes.
Oh my God.
This injures people in the other car. The Archduke and Sophie are fine. He takes his cyanide pill, but there isn't enough cyanide in it to kill him,
Epic mistake.
which
Awesome.
feels
That's
like
rough.
the first.
The
if
first
you're
thing you do
planning,
is you check the cyanide amount.
if I were to kind of do like a project management report of the
Yeah.
Black Hand, I'd go like, so one of the pain points I'm seeing here
Yeah.
is people should take the pill to kill them.
Right.
Like that should be maybe first on our list. But don't worry,
Yes.
he's like, okay, I'll drown myself in this river. He jumps in the river, and the river is 4 inches deep. He gets
Damn.
captured, which is rough. It's rough. I told this to somebody yesterday because I've now been just telling people, and they cried laughing so hard that the second attempt was it's kind of beautiful in a way. Like it almost has that comedy like rule of threes thing of like bomb doesn't
bomb
work,
misses,
cyanide
cyanide
pill doesn't
capsule,
work, river
River's
doesn't
4
work.
inches deep. I would argue that's a puddle.
Yeah.
Yes, run
Like,
off.
river is
Yeah.
generous.
Yeah.
Yeah, a stream, a loose
Right.
stream. Yes. So this, throws the whole attempt into disarray and the parade. Archduke Franz Ferdinand is ushered to the town hall, the city hall. They're at the city hall to give his speech and meet people. And everybody's like, well, that's that. I guess that's over.
That's the end of the day.
That's it, guys.
We're done.
There's no way he's going to come back out.
Wrap it
That
up.
would be insane for him
Go to the
come back
hotel.
out.
He's gonna
Yeah,
gonna go back to the Holiday Inn, order
Yeah.
room
For
service.
sure, he's gonna go back to the Four Seasons, and that's that. But afterwards, instead of going home, in maybe my favorite tidbit of information from this entire story, he's like, "Well, let's go back to the hotel for sure. Let's go back to the hotel." And his friend is like, "What? You think the whole city's full of assassins? There's no way, statistically
way.
speaking.
Yeah.
There's no way there's more."
It's like flying immediately after there's been a plane crash where you're like, well, I'm going to be fine because
Yeah.
like there's already been a plane crash.
Lightning doesn't strike
two
twice.
planes can't
but
crash in one
sometimes
day.
it really does.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
giving it's giving when you leave the party because you're too drunk and then you decide to show up back at the party.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, you left.
Yeah.
I can't
You
get
left.
any more drunk.
You come back at 1 a.m. and you're like, hey, everybody, it's me
Hey
again.
guys, what's up?
I'm back.
I'm ready to go again.
Let's do flip cup.
Go home.
Y'all are so young. What is flip cup?
So it's
like-
exactly what it sounds like.
You drink
the cup, then you flip the cup.
There's a line of people,
Yeah.
a little bit of beer, and each one has a solo cup. You have to drink it all.
Yeah.
And then you put the cup on the edge of the table and you have to flip it, kind of like the water bottle thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
man, in my day, we had way better drinking games than that.
What are they?
Okay, yeah.
Like beer pong?
Yes.
Oh yeah, well, there's beer pong.
Oh yeah.
You still play
Yeah.
beer pong?
Yeah, but no one has aim these days. We don't.
Okay.
No,
This
Yeah.
is the
one's
tragedy.
got- yeah.
Yeah. The youth of Canada no longer have
longer-
the
No, we
capacity
become
to aim
soft.
a ping pong ball.
We become
No,
Yeah.
soft.
we don't. We become
Yeah.
soft. It's because we don't have football here.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, you only
Yeah.
have hockey, which is a
We only have
notoriously
hockey.
pacifist sport.
Yes,
is.
there's no, yeah, and you don't shoot on a tiny net in hockey at all.
exactly.
So
No, everyone just hugs and kind of tosses the puck back and forth. This is what I know
yeah,
about
it's
hockey.
really sweet.
Yeah, no,
It's
you're doing a
really
great job.
Sweet, really
Yeah.
tender.
It is
It
tender.
is true. I think also post-COVID, people don't want to have the ball if it falls on the ground.
Yeah, that's
beer.
reasonable. No, I mean, beer pong was always gross and dangerous.
Okay,
it was
just
always horrific.
But that's kind of part of it.
Yeah.
In a way. Again, talking
fun.
about pandemics being like, well, we're not going to be the one that experiences a pandemic in our lifetime. So
Yeah.
If I drink
fine.
the floor beer, I get stronger.
actually, my immune system has never been stronger because of beer pong.
That's right.
Yes. So what do you think? The whole town is full of assassins. There's no way there's more assassins in this city. He goes, okay, all right. So they continue. They hit the streets. They hit the streets again. And their driver doesn't really know the city that well.
Yeah, they brought in a driver like from home, who didn't really know Sarajevo that well. And that was just nobody comes out glorious in this story.
No.
Everybody looks like a fool.
A cacophony of bad decisions.
A cacophony of bad decisions.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like,
So they
and
bring their
also-
driver from home. Their driver from home doesn't know the streets of Sarajevo, either takes a wrong turn or possibly just stalls the car and then like tries to get it restarted and is in trying to like figure out. I've heard stories. I don't know if this is true, that there is no reverse in the car, and so like they have to like get out and like physically back it up.
okay.
Ugh. That
Or
rocks.
maybe they couldn't get it into reverse. I don't know.
But there's something with the car.
There's
It
something
stops.
with the car. It
The
stops.
car sucks. The driver sucks.
And where does it stop?
Well, right in front of Princip, of course.
Right in front of Gavrilo Princip, who thought he'd missed his chance to kill the Archduke, and suddenly there the Archduke is.
And if it's meant for you, it will come to you. You have to just
Right. It's the secret.
Manifestation.
It's the
God
you're
has his
manifesting
plans.
it. That's
Yes.
right.
He wrote
Exactly.
it down in his journal that morning.
What a
and then the
bad
thing where you
plan.
write it like it's happened already. I have
Yes.
already assassinated
I assassinated
Archduke
Franz Ferdinand today.
I've already done it.
Yeah.
I've already done it. It's happened.
Yes.
It's truth.
So
I
he's
learned-
like, what were you gonna say?
No, I learned today that he wasn't eating a sandwich. I can't believe
Yes.
I believed that for so long.
That was
feel
in every
foolish.
school. Every school
Yes.
taught this.
Okay,
and
'cause a trustworthy adult told me this.
Yes.
yeah, every
I've-
school. When I was growing up, I was taught that he
Yes.
was eating a sandwich. Now, I do think that he was near a place that sold sandwiches.
Okay.
Which is not the same thing
As eating a sandwich.
yes.
Yes.
I
It
always
was just
heard
kind of next to the deli.
Because I was told this, that it was that it was real, and it's not.
I always heard that he was eating a sandwich, like a sad sandwich, like
Yes.
he's
a loser sandwich.
he's bummed out. It didn't work out for him, and what
A
do you do
depression
when
sandwich.
when that happens? You have like your sad sandwich.
Yes.
And then as he's having his sad sandwich outside the deli, who should show up but the Archduke Franz Ferdinand? But actually, that's not true.
No.
No.
No, this came from and while there's obviously like rumors about this, there's this like really in-depth BBC article kind of trying to get to the bottom of where this rumor came from. And there was a couple of documentaries from like the 90s and early 2000s where this first started. And the first one, they got the VHS to find like the sources of a lot of this information. And the source is a novel, a fictional novel.
Wow.
Written by a Brazilian TV presenter. It's called 12 Fingers, and it's about a fake assassin with 12 fingers who is then at all of these moments in history, basically.
Oh, like Forrest Gump style.
Yeah, Forrest Gump.
Yes, it's this. Yes, I actually did. I got a section of it. Like, I was reading the description online, and I was also like, I need to read this book. It actually sounds very funny, and it's a burlesque smorgasbord of international hijinks.
Ooh.
The main character is part Carlos the Jackal, part Woody Allen Zelig, part Inspector Clouseau, and part Forrest Gump. He can't seem to
right.
kill anyone. He does, however, cause enough mayhem to help start World War I and spread the Spanish influenza to the American continent.
Wow.
So if you guys want to read that, you can. Basically,
Book
in that
club.
there's our book club is going to be reading 12 Fingers if we can find a copy. But basically, there's a scene in that where he runs into his old friend from assassin school, Princip, who's eating his sad sandwich on the side of the street. Sad that he lost his chance to kill the Archduke. Then he leaves to go to the main character leaves to go to his spot on the parade route in the hopes of killing him again. And then he meets the car stalls, and this is how we get this rumor.
Wow.
Which I kind of love that it's like it's a fake biography novel. So it's written as if this man's biography. But like it's so kooky silly that you would expect somebody would read that and go, well, this is obviously not true. He has 12 fingers. Like,
but it's just so narratively compelling that he would be eating a sandwich, right? It's so human, and this is what happens a lot in our study of history. Like things that are really narratively compelling kind of come to the fore, and we don't think as much about systems and everything because we're busy thinking about like the sandwich that Gavrilo Princip eat. Because like who wouldn't want him to be eating a sandwich? Like of course that would be great. That's very cinematic. It's very narrative. There's a reason that it's like from a novel, which is that it's great for a novel.
Of course. It's so compelling and we just love stories so much. I mean, that's why like you get so many conspiracy theories about like the assassination of JFK. It's not narratively compelling. The end of it sucks.
Doesn't make any sense.
The assassin gets shot in the street because we never get to know the full.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
so
not
then
how
we're
we
like,
know
it has
narratives to end.
It has to be something else because I hate the ending so much
Right.
that I want to rewrite it.
Right.
So it's the same thing of being like, it's already so narratively compelling, all of these like fake, like all these failures along the way, being like, wouldn't it be lovely if he was eating his sad sandwich? He's almost given up. But at the moment right before you give up, that's when your metaphorical Archduke Franz Ferdinand presents itself to you.
And not to make everything about tuberculosis, but I think we see this a lot in the history of tuberculosis, where like people die of TB, but we really want them to have died of something else because it's not a good story if they just died because they got a bacterial infection. Like we want them to have been poisoned, or we want them to have been stabbed. We want there to be some kind of human agency in these stories of history. But a lot of times, like the main character of history is a microbe.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
It's really. I mean, you talk about it a bit in the book, but like Virginia Woolf talking about how it's strange that there's not a lot of, we don't talk about, there's not a disease novel in the way that there are other novels about different things, which is really wild when you think about it because it's such a factor of human life. But we don't want it to be. We don't want it to be, like you said, like a natural cause. We don't want dying of disease to be natural. So we're like, it's not. I've decided it's not, and we're never going to think about it, which is interesting. Like, it's the bounds of our capacity for denial as a human species is really strange. Stuck the landing on that so beautifully. That was really good.
Awesome
I feel really good about that. So we're here. The car stalls. He is just like, oh great, shoots him, shoots his wife. Great,
Which has always seemed unnecessary to me.
I know. What did she do?
Yeah. Like,
I mean,
she's just there.
Yeah. She was like a loving parent, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not her fault.
No, it's a bit of a look. It's a story full of bummers, but that bummer has always stuck with me.
Yeah. I also don't feel good reading this out loud now. I'm like, I don't think it stands up. This story, well, first of all, obviously doesn't stand up to the Bechdel test. There's one woman, she's there, she gets shot. But also, I'm just like, his wife was there. And as we know, women are most importantly wives, not individuals, but they are wives.
But sometimes women are also in the car.
And that's beautiful. That's actually, that's feminism.
And
sometimes
that's
women get
feminism.
shot too.
In 1914, all you could do as a woman was be in a car.
Yeah.
But hey.
It's so true that this story does not pass the Bechdel test. Like, Sophie barely had a name.
No, we're like, Sophie, don't worry about
And
her
the
last name.
woman
It doesn't
was
matter.
there.
The woman was there. It's very much like if you
Someone
watch
else
like
in the car.
You know when you watch like an early 2000s sitcom and they have like a single black character who's like a main character's girlfriend or something,
Right.
and they're like, why? How could we be racist?
Yeah.
We had a black character for 16 episodes out of our 500 episodes.
Yeah.
They're like, well, but did you not see that there was a woman in the car? This is a feminist story.
Yeah.
This is a very feminist tale.
Yeah.
And we're
And her
standing on her
personality
shoulders
trait.
today. We're standing on the shoulders of women in cars today making a podcast.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be possible without them.
It wouldn't be possible without them.
It wouldn't be possible without. Thank you.
We don't talk
Sophie.
about the car to sitting in a car to podcast pipeline enough. It's a really beautiful thing. So yes, he shoots Archduke Franz Ferdinand. He shoots Sophie. I believe she's a duchess. And then he takes a cyanide pill, which of course does not kill him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, not great planning on the Black Hand's
Again,
part.
we have some notes about the cyanide pills.
He tries to shoot himself, but is apprehended, captured, and then the third member as well is all captured. So all members of this plot are captured, imprisoned, it is illegal at the time to put teenagers to death in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, but by the end of the war, they all die of tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Imprisoned, anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't need the death penalty because they all died of TB.
Yeah. Which is so, I remember and we maybe will cut this out. I don't know how many people in this podcast want to talk about Luigi Mangione, but I remember when he was arrested, there was a big conversation about how he obviously is chronically ill with considerable back pain, being like, the only thing worse than living with an illness or chronic illness is being in prison with that illness. Like, I can't imagine how horrible it would be, especially for these people surely being tortured, right? Like, surely being tortured and interrogated.
Yeah, and it definitely sped their deaths, right? I mean, imprisonment is still a risk factor for death from TB, and we still see a ton of tuberculosis in prisons because it's a very crowded situation, very poor ventilation, all the things that we see associated with tuberculosis. And in the case of these boys, because they really were almost children. I mean, when I see a 19-year-old, I think of them... No disrespect to 19-year-olds, but
no, that's a baby.
That is a kid.
It's a little kid.
Yeah,
little kid.
They all were hugely malnourished. I mean, of course, look, they were not treated well in prison because they were seen as the people who began this great international horror, and they all died quite quickly. And malnutrition is another. That's just poor form. Hold on.
Do.
That's a very loud doorbell. Malnutrition is another risk factor. Malnutrition is another risk factor for TB, and so they really had everything going against them.
Yes, yeah. And it's crazy, even now when I was doing research for this and you go to these articles that have random comments, people are like, bro had one bad day and then decided to start World War I, which is already just not helpful. And why are you commenting on this? But to a greater extent, to blame this child is such a strange move on my part. I'm just like, why? Obviously not. There was so many other factors. It just makes me sad to be like, these people had horrible lives in many ways. Like, they just had the cards stacked against them. They died in prison from tuberculosis. Like, that's just sad. We don't need to be in 2025 being like, why did bro do this?
Yeah, I mean, I wish he hadn't done it.
Yeah.
I think we might
and
have
a bold take from John Green.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and go down anti-assassination, anti-World
War One. Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to know. We'll note that.
Yeah, please put that down. In the overall, where I'm pro, where I'm anti-TB, anti-war.
World War One.
Anti-World War One especially accomplished very little, resulted in 24 million human deaths.
But, it gave us World War II, so...
That's true.
Which I'm also anti, but...
Thanks for putting that down, Carly. I appreciate that. We're all going to note that in the book.
People are going to care.
Okay, so John is anti-World War I, Carly's anti-World War II.
Yeah.
I'll be anti-Vietnam.
Oh, well, that's
good one.
Too good. That's not fair.
Great one
You're
to be
welcome.
against.
Yeah, that's very Canadian of you, actually, to be against it.
Yes.
In many ways.
Very much. I
Supporting
love
our draft
detractors.
dodger.
I'm like, draft dodgers,
history.
come live in my house.
Yes.
Come on in.
All right. So that's the story. I feel like what we can do now is do the section of our podcast that we've put in to stop ending on such a bummer note of just people dying. Most historical events end being and then they died.
And then they died. Yeah. And it was
so
upsetting.
Let's have a fun little question before we wrap things up and say goodbye. Ready, Blair? Are we going to say it at the same time?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
make this tragedy about us. Beautiful.
It's the part of the show where we take this tragedy and make it about us.
Very sad.
Because it's sad. Sometimes things are too sad.
And this is a real tragedy, which is good because sometimes it'll just be we talk about the history of Bob Dylan, and then we're like, it's not really a tragedy, but it's a podcast format.
But we still have to make it about us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
What's the point of having a podcast
if you're not talking about yourself?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So the question I pose to both of you is there have been a lot of, this is just about the 700 different ways to bungle an assassination. If you were involved, do you think you would have been able to pull it off? Or if you were to fail, what would be the way in which you would fail, hypothetically?
So I would 100%, and I'm interested to get your feedback, Blair, but I would 100% fail. And I think I would fail the other three guys who we didn't really talk about in this episode failed in the sense that I would just not even make it to minute
You
one.
would not show up. Yeah.
You know? It's similar to how, like, when people have these complicated theories of how they would survive a zombie apocalypse, and I'm like, I'm a day one victim. Like,
me too.
I'm on the front. I'm a zombie from almost from the start. I'm the seventh.
You're the
or
third
eighth.
zombie.
Exactly.
You're
exactly.
patient 8.
Yes. Yeah.
I always think that I would die. I would be too afraid to live in the zombie apocalypse, so I would get bit, and then the next day they would cure it, and they'd be like, "Well, that's too bad. She could have waited a day."
Yeah.
I'd be like, the zombies can't be that bad, and then get bit, and I'm zombie.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're trying to honor. You're trying to you're trying to talk to them, zombie to girl.
I do agree. I also feel like just kind of like, how would I know what time to show up? You know what I mean? Like,
This
I feel
is
like
what
I
I
wouldn't
think.
know
I'd
the
be late.
parade schedule. I'm
Yeah.
always late to the parade because I never know the schedule.
You're at a different part of the parade. You're like, I thought we were meeting at this corner, and we're like, no, you missed the most recent telegram, or what?
Yeah.
or you didn't read my letter.
You didn't get the telegram?
I love that for you. I love
Yes.
that you're like, oh no, and then later you meet up with the other assassins, and you're like, listen, y'all, I
guys.
really thought we were meeting at the town hall.
Yeah,
I
I was
really
at
thought-
the town hall. I was
I
hanging
was
out with
early.
the mayor. I was early,
early.
actually. And I had Starbucks for you guys. I had cake pops. And
I
you guys
had
mixed
birthday
up.
cake K-pops.
You
I
guys
just had to
had
eat them all.
I ate them all, and my stomach hurt so bad.
But
So I was
then-
I was lying supine on the steps of town hall.
Supine. You are, but then you're like Princip, and
Yes.
the car stalls in front of you, but because you've had too many cake pops,
I can't.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm
do it.
kind of army crawling. Like, die, dude.
I feel
just
so
like,
sick.
what?
Yeah.
I feel so ill right now. I ate
Yes.
too much cake. It's really early in the morning.
Yes. What factor do you think would stop you from reaching the day, John?
I just think my anxiety. I mean, I would just. I think I would.
Yeah,
I think I would
fair.
I would be at the parade route like 5 hours early. That wouldn't be an issue. I'd have my bomb and my gun and my cyanide pill and everything. I'd accomplish all those goals. It's just when the actual Archduke Franz Ferdinand came by, I'd be like, I can't do this.
No,
This is
I'm
crazy.
not going to do that.
It's
Yeah,
too stressful.
I think that's fair.
This is
I
way
have
too
yes.
stressful. And like, this is going to reshape my life in all kinds of negative ways. Like, I don't think I can do this.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I also do feel like I wouldn't get to this point, but throwing the bomb and missing,
it's so
feel akin
humiliating.
to.
Oh,
I
so
would do that.
embarrassing.
I would do, you know, when you throw something, but then
Yeah.
you don't let go. You let go too late.
Yeah.
So then you just kind
It
of
just
launch it
kinda
at your own
falls.
feet.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
what I would do. I would should never throw a grenade in my life, and I've made it this far, so I feel like I'm good. But I think if I would just blow myself up 100%.
Respectfully, that's true.
I once threw out the first pitch at a Major League Baseball game.
Oh,
They asked me to do
horrifying.
this. Horrifying, right? I mean, it's 60 feet from the pitcher's mound to the
Everyone's watching.
home plate, and you don't
so
think
many
that's
feet.
you don't think it's a long way because like the pitchers do it at 100 miles an hour, but then you're up there and I'm like, there's no way this ball is getting to home plate. It's just not going to happen. And so if I can't throw a baseball 60 feet, I just don't trust myself to throw a bomb.
No. That's actually, I feel like my
how
body
far
is now
did you-
reacting to
Yeah.
that. Like,
How far did you
anxiety-wise.
throw the ball?
Thank you for asking. About 56 feet, I would say.
That's really
Oh,
good.
that's good.
Well, that's not what the crowd felt. But I appreciate your support. I wish y'all had been there.
Yeah,
I would've
we're in the
been
front row
very
going, that's
happy.
actually really
That's actually
good.
really good. That's really a lot harder than you think it is.
Yeah. Things look smaller on TV.
Yeah.
Smaller on TV. You don't understand it. It's like when you you haven't been to set. You don't know how
It's like
lights
set.
are. It's
Yeah.
just like set.
Yes. Oh, all right. That's everything. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh
On the
my
note
God,
of
it's been
that's what
so
it's like
fun.
on set. Yes.
It's been so fun. This has been a
Yes.
joy. It's been great to talk with y'all. And I look forward to listening to my episode of the podcast, but also all the other episodes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
The Girl Historians listeners are going to lose their minds. They're going to.
Yes.
We've been moving in silence for many months trying to make this happen, and they're going to freak out.
Oh, I'm really excited.
So, yeah. And if you are listening right now, Everything is Tuberculosis is out on March 18th.
Yeah.
You should read it.
It's
Yeah.
fabulous.
Book of the year, in my opinion.
Thank
I'm
you.
obsessed.
Yeah.
That's
And
very
even if
kind.
you have if you're terrified of diseases like I am, that was my concern. I was going to be like, new fear unlocked. It's not. You just really understand the world as a whole. Get
Makes you
your
understand
ass to the
how lucky
bookstore.
we are to not actually have as much disease. all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah. Which is
if anything.
wild.
So.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much, John.
Thank y'all. It's been great to
you so
talk with
much.
you.
Have a great day and get
you
your
think-
door.
Yeah. There is somebody at the door for real.
Just waiting.
So go get them out. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
I will. All right, take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow. Just wow. What a lovely man.
What a great guy. What a great interview. And not to be like everything is tuberculosis, but everything is tuberculosis, and I will be relating everything back to tuberculosis.
Yes.
Probably for the rest of my life.
It's a fantastic book. Michael Chabon, who wrote The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, said that like writing is an act of indulgence. Like the things that you write, if you write about things that you care about very, very deeply, then the reader will care about them too. And I feel like this book is like the perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And it's entertaining in a way that like when someone who is passionate and knowledgeable and unafraid to be a storyteller getting in the way of sounding smart is...
Yes.
Oh my God, like magic.
Yeah, beautiful. And can laugh. Oh,
and can laugh.
Love it. Absolutely. So yeah, we will have a pre-order link for Everything is Tuberculosis in the bio, like the bio of the episode, the notes,
the description, the notes,
as well as a link to tbfighters.org, I believe, which is this organization dedicated to fighting tuberculosis. Mm-hmm. Girl, do it.
Girl,
help.
Do it. Girl, do it. Help out. As always, do we even need to tell you where to find John Green? He's John Green, king of the
internet. Find him on the fucking internet or your bookshelf, bitch.
Sign up for their newsletter. It's great. I enjoy it a lot.
Ooh.
Yeah. Been on it since like 2013.
I love that. And that I love.
I love.
Thank you so much to John Green for being on the podcast.
Yes. And we'll see you later, girls.
Bye.
Bye.